Hello and welcome to episode 62 of the NF Show, NF Magazine's official video podcast. I'm your host this week, Evan Campbell, and with me, as always, is the ever-lovely Noah Ward.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening to you. Good morning, good afternoon, whenever you may be listening to episode 62 of the NF Show, haves and have-nots. Noah and I have a lot to discuss, whether that's news tidbits, a trio of 3DS RPGs on the way, which is really exciting. We have some games to talk about. I've been playing the delightful Box Boy, while Noah's been playing Siesta Fiesta and some more Codename Steam. And then finally, we'll wrap this episode up with a pretty bow with your fantastic feedback. So it's going to be quite an exciting show. Really excited. But let's start with some news tidbits. Fantasy Life 2 has been announced, Noah, and you know that we kind of heard about this title I think a month or two ago. Level 5 had been teasing it and I was pretty excited. I was a big fan of Fantasy Life, which just released on 3DS, but we found out that it's not coming to Nintendo's handheld. It's only coming to smartphone devices.
Yeah, that was a bit of a disappointment for me next to the confirmation of Professor Layton 7 being a smartphone exclusive game. That was further elaborated upon at this same announcement. And it's also linked in time to a fancy new Final Fantasy game that's coming to smartphones that has really great graphics. But is this the sign of things to come, that more and more developers just stop prioritizing handhelds and potentially consoles in some cases to create games for smartphones and tablets? I really hope not. But this could also be influencing what Nintendo's next device is going to be, whatever that may be.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Level 5's president and CEO said that more adults are playing games on smartphones, and that Fantasy Life is a game that's kind of suited to adults. So it makes sense that the design platform for this would be mobile devices, which I found quite interesting because I think of Fantasy Life as more a family-friendly affair or something that does cater to kids younger. I mean, it's not super violent. I guess it's pretty text-heavy. There's a lot of job classes and stuff, but still, I thought it was something that everyone could enjoy. I was kind of surprised by that.
I was too, because when I think of the gameplay and the world and the design, it almost feels like a starter RPG, an RPG that young kids who might be interested in a Final Fantasy game, they start with Fantasy Life and get familiar with the ideas of jobs and level grinding and expanding your storyline through doing that. And then they move into stuff that's rated for older audiences as they get older. It's just surprising, but maybe they did some demographic research that shows a bulk of the audience of Fantasy Life somewhere is adult. I don't know. Do you think adults are more interested in living alternate lives and saying, I'm going to be this job, now I'm going to do this job? Or is that really more a kid's thing? To me, that seems more like a kid's thing. But maybe they thought this is kind of an escape for adults who feel like they're stuck in this dead-end job and they can't change careers easily. And what if my life was a fantasy and I could just snap my fingers and all of a sudden have a totally different career? Maybe that's the angle that they're thinking adults find appealing in Fantasy Life.
Yeah, and there are aspects of it that's very much like Animal Crossing, and maybe they think they can hit a broader audience in general, as well as monetize it better on mobile as they could as a $30, $40 package on 3DS.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, it's sad because Fantasy Life, it was a great entry point, and I'm sure Nintendo of America has got to be kind of bummed since they went through so much effort to help with the localization, and then they published it here in North America, possibly hoping this could be the start of something, because Fantasy Life, not only was it a fun RPG, but it very much felt like a Nintendo title in a lot of regards. Very accessible, broad appeal, a fun, cutesy art style and everything else. But at least at first, Fantasy Life 2 is not to be on 3DS. Now, another game could actually be coming back to Nintendo consoles if a little digging on a website is to be, if you're going to take something from a website of Call of Duty and kind of use that as a blanket to think that it'll account for the next game coming. Basically, what I'm trying to get at, and I'm doing a terrible job of it right now, is the Call of Duty website now allows people to link their Nintendo Network ID to the site. And that has people speculating that maybe Call of Duty Black Ops 3 could come to Wii U this year.
Wouldn't it be funny if instead of Call of Duty Black Ops 3, it was Advanced Warfare, like a year later?
That happened on Wii, so it wouldn't be
Yeah.
unheard of.
Yeah, I think it would be a great turnabout to see Wii U get the next Call of Duty game or a Call of Duty game this holiday.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's always been integral in making Nintendo's holiday offerings seem more well-rounded to have one of the most major, largest gaming franchises represented on a Nintendo console during the holidays versus people thinking, well, if I want to play that, I have to go get a different system. It would be great. And I wonder if this has to do with it. This is probably some kind of fanboy speculation or rose-colored glasses, but I think of the different Call of Duty developers that Treyarch historically has been friendlier and more accommodating to putting their Call of Duty games or brand new original Call of Duty games on a Nintendo hardware, whereas the stuff from Infinity Ward was pretty much just a port.
Yeah, well, Treyarch has had a Wii team in the past or a Wii U team, and they're the ones that have ported every Call of Duty game for the Wii and Wii U, whether that's Black Ops 2, which Treyarch was behind, as well as Ghost. It was actually Treyarch who brought that over, even though Infinity Ward developed the game. So it would make sense that Black Ops 3 is a Treyarch game, like you said, that they would do the porting duties, and they've done a pretty good job in the past, especially since it seems to be kind of a skeleton crew behind those, probably like 20 people or so. But one thing that I would love this. I've always been a proponent of these games. I reviewed Ghost and Black Ops 2 for NF Magazine and found them very enjoyable. They actually have voice chat in them, which is something that can't be said for the next game we're about to talk about. The online multiplayer is always just one of the best outings. Black Ops 2 and Ghost are two of the best online multiplayer games for the Wii U system still, even though we didn't even get Advanced Warfare. So I hope this comes true. One of the things that I've joked about in the past, and I'm sure I've joked about with you, is the fact that this always happens. The Wii U version of Call of Duty or the Wii version would never get announced with the other versions. And we haven't gotten the full official reveal, to be fair. And it always turns into will it or won't it. And then I think like around September, they're like, oh yeah, there is a version. And they release a handful of screenshots. And then you have no idea what to expect. And then because it's Treyarch, they usually do a very good job. Very good, maybe strong, but an adequate job actually porting over everything to Nintendo's home console. So I wonder if it'll be another one of those, or we could actually see when the official reveal happens that a Wii U version's announced. But yeah, that would be pretty huge. I'm skeptical. I don't see what would change other than Treyarch, like you said, just being friendly of Nintendo, but it's not like Wii U sales have taken off lately or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And Activision, we haven't really seen any third-party support from anyone. So I'm sure there will be a Skylanders game. Maybe Nintendo strong-armed Activision or something was like, yeah, we'll do some kind of marketing deal where it was like, yes, we'll help with Skylanders, but we want Call of Duty.
My conspiracy theories totally agree with you, Evan, in that if Nintendo is going to get the next Call of Duty on Wii U, considering the facts that you just stated, it really seems like there's some kind of deal in the background that's happened that justifies it, because it's a very strong about face for any third-party developer, considering most of them aren't publishing anything on Wii U. And the rumor mongering around the industry is that Wii U is on the way out the door as it is, whether some people agree or not, or they agree on what reasons why. For all those reasons, why would you want to put a new Call of Duty game on Wii U? Because is it going to be worth the cost of porting it? Or you can even get your money back on the number of sales. I'd like to think that it would, but I'm not sure. I don't know what the cost is or the budget, the economics are of porting that game. And you stole my punchline earlier because I was going to ask you, but do you think this new Call of Duty game will have voice chat
Yes.
in light of recent events?
The Call of Duty games have had voice chat on Wii, even going back to, I think, maybe the original Black Ops was the first one to
Yeah.
offer voice chat. And there was like an official PDP headset that you could, USB headset that you could use and everything else. But yes, the Call of Duty voice chat's been pretty good on the Wii U version so far. But the game that I was alluding to is obviously Splatoon, which we have just harped on over and over again. But now we've gotten a reason why there won't be voice chat in Splatoon. And it comes from the game's co-director. I'm probably going to butcher his name, so I apologize in advance. But Yosuke Amano.
Yeah, I either be that or Yusuke. I don't know.
We'll just call him Mr. Amano for now.
Yeah, I like Mr. Mono. That's great.
So the game's co-director, Mr. Amano, said that there isn't voice chat because of negativity in general. He told Edge magazine, quote, "This is coming from personal experience. When I played online games, I didn't like the negativity I got and people telling me, you're crap, go away. So we wanted to focus on the positive aspects of online gaming."
If you follow me on Twitter, you probably saw that I threw a brief tantrum about this statement. It was only 2 tweets, so it wasn't really a tantrum, but I was definitely incensed by it. I was happy to know that there was some kind of reason. I'm glad that a reason was given, and unfortunately, it was not a reason that made me feel any better. It was probably one of the reasons most likely to annoy me.
Agreed.
It's just this director is just wielding his directorial power because he had a bad online experience, and that overshadows any positive possible online experience you could have had with friends or with family or with even strangers, because I've certainly gamed with strangers and added them to my friend list that I've chatted with while playing a game because they were so cool and we had a great time working together or playing together, and they were someone that I wanted to play with again in the future, even though I was randomly matched to them. Yeah, there is always going to be, with voice chat, somebody out there saying swear words, making inappropriate comments, being rude, but voice chat is not new on the scene. There are ways to address this, whether it's allowing chat only with friends or integrating the mute button. So many things, and yet somebody's personal bad rainy day story impacts this. And he even made it, I can't remember if it was the way that Edge wrote it or if it was a quote directly from Mr. Amano, that Splatoon will never have voice chat.
Yeah, that's kind of what people are saying, that it won't be added in the future. So don't cross your fingers or hold out hope. Basically, don't do what I've been doing and think that maybe someday it could happen.
Like Codename Steam, they just patch in some voice chat.
Yeah, we kind of speculated about that last week. And I agree with you. People do have bad online experiences, but to just let one bad apple ruin the bunch here, I think is ridiculous. And people are like, oh, this is a very reasonable explanation. To me, no, it's not. I mean, my position hasn't changed. Nintendo could do multiple things to fix that situation. Number one, you can only chat with friends that are your Wii registered friends. Number two, you only chat with people on your team, so there's not as much smack talking going on the airwaves. Number three, you could have people all be muted and you actually have to opt into it instead of the other way around. And number four, you get a robust reporting system installed that kind of pushes people to be more positive and rewards those people and kind of gets people that are negative out of that community. And Nintendo should be working on that. But to just say, I've had a bad experience, so nope, it's not there. It's ridiculous. And it makes me just worry about the future of any Nintendo platform actually being able to talk to people. And you know what the argument is. Oh, well, if you guys really want to voice chat, you can use Skype. And it's like, we live in a world now of convenience when it comes to online functionality. And Nintendo is the exact opposite of that. And I just don't want to even deal with those things anymore because I don't want to deal with that inconvenience. I don't want to have another device to do that. I'll just play on a different system that allows me to voice chat friends in an easier way.
Yeah, you directly, again, keep saying what I'm going to say, Evan. But I had two other points that I wanted to touch on, which were thinking about the game off into the future. When it's brand new and it's novel, and I want to play with Evan, and it's just like, oh, this is going to be fun, and okay, we'll do the stupid Skype thing or something like that so we can talk with each other. We'll do that. But then think about it like 3 or 4 months down the line, or even 6 months or to a year, when I'm craving doing some online multiplayer gaming and the novelty isn't there anymore, regardless of however much I loved it in the initial starting days. I'm going to compare the convenience of starting up a different game or even a totally different system that has everything integrated either at a system level or a game level, or the rigmarole that I'll have to do of like, oh, let me pull out my laptop or let me pull out my tablet or my phone and put it on speaker or plug in a headset and put that on. And now I'm going to start up the game separately. And I have to call somebody over here, look at that screen. It's going to be so complicated and annoying that I won't play the game for that reason. I'll go with something else that will allow me to connect with my friends and have a good time in a much easier fashion. What I thought was hilarious, and it's so classic Nintendo fanboy, Go Nintendo, which is one of the most popular Nintendo news sites on the internet, and also people who write there, like Rami Cowboy and Don Koopman, are staffers on NF Magazine. Well, RMC posted an end of day post asking people, what do you think of, after the story came out, what do you think of Splatoon not having voice chat? And there were 3 answers. Number 1 was, I think they made the right decision. Number 2 was they should have implemented friend voice chat. Or number 3, they should have implemented chat with all of the usual features. And far and away, the number 1 choice that got, I don't know, I think 50% of the votes was, I think they made the right decision. Followed by, I think 35% of people said they should have done friend voice chat, and then just 15% said full voice chat. And the rage in the comments was great, because you had people who were like, what the heck? You people are just, why are you just blindly agreeing with this and just like rolling over and not having any complaint about this at all? It makes me wonder, it's like, Evan, maybe we're just the vocal minority here, but there were all these people that were angry. And then there was the telltale stereotypical apologist coming in and saying, no, but it doesn't, it makes sense for this reason. It's like, ugh! And it's this type of research, or even casual grassroots research, that reaffirms for Nintendo that it doesn't need to change things. And maybe that's part of the reason why things change so slowly, because so many people are complacent about it, or they just don't care about these features that we really care about.
Yeah, this is important to me, and I by no means am trying to equate my anger with like Splatoon won't be successful. I think that's ridiculous to kind of put these two things together, but Splatoon's just kind of the tip of the spear with Nintendo's online faults, and it's just like this exciting new property, and once again it's it's the straw that breaks Evan's back, basically, with things like this. And one of the important things, and I've talked about this before too, is will Splatoon at least make it easy for me to group up with friends? Maybe we can't talk, but can we group up together and then join ranked battles, which were kind of unveiled at the Nintendo Direct and stuff? Can we go into this stuff together, or is it going to be a Mario Kart 8 situation where it's like, okay, the room's open, try to join me, unless we do just a private match, which I want to play against public people. Maybe we can't talk as friends, but at least let me go into battles with my group of friends. This is something that Call of Duty has allowed on Wii U. Hopefully Splatoon is at least having those accessibility options, because if that's not there, my interest in online multiplayer is just going to severely fall off. I'm not going to have the patience to A, use a voice chat that's not built in, and B, have to be like texting back and forth with someone. Okay, try now. Someone left the room. Oh, you didn't get in. Wait until the next match, or I'm the person waiting. Like, I don't have time for that. It kind of bleeds over to Miiverse for me, Noah. It's something that I liked, but it just takes way too long to load to do anything in there. I'd rather just use Twitter, because guess what? That's more accessible and that's faster. And I think that Nintendo, whether they know it or not, they are losing out on people to not only other services, but to other platforms and to other games, because they don't have the type of features that people want in this day and age. and it's
Mhm.
it's frustrating.
Yeah. But it's only frustrating because we want it to be awesome and as successful as possible, which is where this is coming from. I wouldn't say that it's purely selfish reasons like, well, if we design the game, this is the way that it'll be. It's because we want this to be some kind of bonfire on the Wii U that really draws a bunch of positive press and attention, much in the way that Bayonetta 2 did months ago. And now every bit of praise is always going to be accompanied with and but some kind of caveat uh, that's like, and if only voice chat were here, what would it be like? Or I wish there were, or it is, you should know that there is no voice chat, just like all these different ways of saying the same thing that will be there. And maybe it'll be a 9.8 out of 10, and somebody will just take off 0.2 points for voice chat, and that'd be great. But that it's going to be hammered over and over for us, whether we have the game, whether we love it or not, is just going to be like, the life of a Nintendo fan. Boo.
It, it's Nintendo's first shooting game since what? Perfect Dark.
Yeah.
That's another reason why it's not only is it a new IP and not only does it look spectacular, we both love the art style, but I mean, this is Nintendo's first like multiplayer shooting game in 10, 15 years, unless I'm forgetting something off the top of my head.
No, I
Because
think you're right.
yeah, because Devil's Third won't be here. I'll be so curious to see the functionality between Devil's Third and Splatoon once those come out.
Yeah, yeah.
Like to compare those. That'll be fascinating. But instead of talking about the games coming out in the future, let's talk about what we're playing now. And no, I'm very curious. Did you end up picking up Codename Steam?
No, I did not. I did patch it though. I downloaded the patch. I was so excited and delighted that both the full game and the demo were going to get it. So I eagerly downloaded the patch and jumped back into the game. I was really happy to find out, even though I had to essentially re-download the entire demo. My save game wasn't overwritten, so that was cool. It did still remember that the number of times I'd already played the demo, but that I still had my progress there was great. And oh my goodness, it does make a great difference. It's
Yeah.
if you've watched, I don't know if you've gone out and watched it, but there's a video that shows if you're on the regular 3DS, the fast forwarding is actually slower than on the new 3DS XL. And it's just a toggle. You either turn it on or you turn it off.
Oh,
And it
so you don't
remembers
like hold a
going up.
button. You don't hold a button or something to.
No, I totally thought it was going to be that too. I saw that they'd added this icon on the touch screen. And I was thinking before I started up, it's like, man, am I going to have to hold that down the whole time? Why wouldn't they just make that like the shoulder button or something like that? But no, it's actually just a switch that you flip back and forth. So you're either in fast forward until you decide to turn it off, or you're in regular speed.
Oh, I'm always in fast forward now. No regular speed here. So it did. The pacing felt much better though.
Yeah, it moves so much quicker and smoother. The amount of information that you can get visually during the alien movement parts of the battles is pretty darn minimal. And even if it is super frantic fast as it is in the new 3DS XL, I didn't feel like I was really missing anything. I did kind of wish that I could that it was button controlled just briefly, because then I could slow down and start up when I was in a new
Yeah.
map. But it still was great. I didn't mind at all. And it made the brutal defeats that I kept experiencing from that point forward all the faster to go through. And it made me leave the game or the demo happy, realizing, well, my first impressions of the first few levels were glowing. All of a sudden, the learning curve steeply goes up after those first few missions, and I was getting my butt kicked. I kept losing John Henry, who's the guy who has an arced rocket launcher attack or grenade launcher, and so he can blow up barriers and blow up crates that have bonus power-ups. And the dang aliens would just jump in on him, and then I'd have to play like a third of the way into the level, and then I'd have to play the rest of it with just the main guy who's just a weak shooter. And I just got my butt kicked, and I lost. I barely scraped by on one mission because I just ran into the clear zone without actually killing all the aliens as much as I wanted to and run around and gather all the treasure. And the next one just got wiped on the floor. And it didn't matter if I was trying to turtle and just proceed very slowly, or if I just try to just flank. I don't get it. I think I'm not a good match for this game, and it made me feel like, am I old, or am I just not good at this type of strategy game? What's wrong? Because Fire Emblem and I clicked really well, and I couldn't rationalize it. But now I'm officially, I like what the game's doing. It's much better with the speeding up of the alien turns. But I've also realized, sadly, it's not a game I'm going to get based on my experience,
Okay.
because it just kicked my butt. And being in the first few levels of the game to get my butt kicked this soundly, I didn't feel I had the stamina or the enthusiasm to try again. I'm just like, there's other games that I totally get and they click and I can just get in there and I can make progress and I'm having fun. And so I played Siesta Fiesta.
Yeah,
It was on sale.
okay, it was on sale. Yeah, I was kind of curious that you picked up Siesta Fiesta. It's another game that I reviewed for NF Magazine.
Yeah, if you've been listening to or watching the show, NF show, for some time, you might remember that I got really excited that Evan reviewed Siesta Fiesta because I wanted to hear all about it. It looked like it reminded me, even though it's not the same mechanics, it kind of reminded me of Big Bang Mini, which is one of my all-time favorite
DS
budget, I
games.
guess, DS games. It's a puzzle game, except instead of based off of breakout mechanics, it's kind of like Missile Command, where you flick the stylus on the touch screen to launch fireworks, and then where they explode helps blow up things that you need to attack. One moment, please. And so Siesta Fiesta looked to have that strange, weird, kooky aesthetic, except merged with Breakout. And it was surprisingly challenging too, but not nearly as bad as Codenames Team.
So you're liking it so far? I mean, I remember enjoying it. It felt like a great little eShop game, something to play there for 10 to 15 minutes, although I'd find myself playing much longer than that sometimes too.
Yeah, I was surprised with how early or soon that I would die in some levels. I thought, these are the first 5 levels of the game. I'm not going to lose any lives. I was losing lives because the little baby, as he's bouncing off the bed, can start to move really, really fast.
Mm-hmm.
And just getting the feel of where the baby's going to ricochet off onto, I'm not quite there yet, but it's definitely much more surmountable than the deep intricacies of Codenames Team's strategy. I guess it's just much more approachable for me. So I'm really happy that I got it on sale. I'm not sure if anybody else did out there, but if you did, let us know.
Cool. It's great to hear that you're enjoying that game and everything. I would tell you that you need to pick up Box Boy, which is only $5 on the eShop, because that is one of my favorite games so far this year. And I know I talked about it a little bit last week, but it just continued to impress me over the weekend. And it's just delightful. It's a really fun puzzle platformer that continues to introduce new ideas and do new things. And the animation is adorable. You can get new costumes. I think I talked about, like, there's a wizard one where Box Boy has like a beard. You can become a ninja, and that actually allows you to like walk a bit faster and everything. And they come with like these just little neat animation effects that are adorable. And I blown away, strong to say, but it super surprising for this just black and white eShop game that's only $5. It really is just a stellar experience.
I've consistently been reading and hearing glowing comments about Box Boy. And I have to confess, I think it's great because I know when I first saw videos and screenshots, I was very turned off by the aesthetic. And I think that says a lot about the game design and, of course, Nintendo's legacy of how great they are at making games, that even with the crudest aesthetic that you could possibly have, the game is just well loved by many.
You need to check it out. I feel like it's right up your alley. And it does, you're talking about like difficulty curves and spikes and challenges. I feel like this one does, Box Boy does just a great job of guiding you. I mean, I feel like some people have said it's a little too easy, but in each level, you can also get like a crown to perfectly complete the level. You can just get through the experience or get through the obstacles and finish the level. You're basically getting to a door, but there is a little crown. And along with getting it, the stipulation is you produce extra boxes with Box Boy, and you can use those in different ways, and they introduce new mechanics around that. Well, one of the restrictions is you can only produce so many boxes before you get to that crown or it disappears. That adds a little wrinkle on top of everything else. And it was fun getting those. And it was by no means like very challenging or difficult task to necessarily do that. But sometimes it did take time and you had to think through everything. But it's very clever, and it makes you feel clever when you do finally figure out the puzzles and everything to it. And I was just I guess I was just blown away. It's a media experience too. I figured it'd be like a 2-hour game, and it was easily probably 4 or 5 or 6 hours. And there's even additional content on top of that. It's just like a game that keeps on giving. And I'm not joking. So far, it has to be one of my favorite games of the year. And I mean, it's up there with, how much I love like Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate and stuff like that. But Box Boy is just, it is like when I think of what I'd like to see from Nintendo's downloadable realm, it's right up there with like Pushmo of just delivering something unique that's fascinating. And for this one, I can say it's a great value.
That is very cool. I'm still not going to commit to it, but I'm glad to hear that you're totally loving it still.
Yeah, I'd love to hear anyone else out there what they think about the game and see if they're adoring it as much as I am. And on top of that, I have just started. I don't have too much to say about Elliot's Quest. I'm playing that for Wii U, and I'm actually going to review that for NF Magazine. And people might be familiar with it because it looks a lot like The Legend of Zelda 2, Link's Adventure, as well as kind of a mix with like Metroid, this open world. It doesn't hold your hand or anything, and it's really cool. You're kind of this character who starts off with a bow and arrow, and that's your only attack, and you're kind of finding your way throughout these side-scrolling levels. And as you go through them, it's almost like a Legend of Zelda dungeon where new tiles are opening up on the map screen or whatever, and you're trying to figure out where you need to go and what you need to do. And I've been impressed so far with it. It's on the opposite side. It is very challenging, like you're talking about with going in. And I don't know if maybe I'm in an area that I shouldn't be at yet, and I should be smart enough to say, okay, let's go the other way, because there is nothing there guiding you to go to a specific point or anything. So I'm really excited to kind of see how that world, or to uncover that world and see what kind of secrets lie there and stuff, because I've heard good things about Elliot's Quest, and so far it leaves a pretty good first impression.
That's great. So lots of wins on the downloadable front for us this week. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's been really good. And I know they're playing others. I just downloaded Pokemon. They should be like Pokemon Perks or something. Maybe that'll be Nintendo's new reward platform. But I just downloaded Pokemon World Rumble, or is it Pokemon Rumble World? I can't ever figure that out.
I think it's Rumble before World.
It's the Rumble. Yeah, your R's before W's. So I'm curious to check that out, because Nintendo is just loving these Pokemon free to play, or free to start, as Mr. Saturi likes to say, free to start games. So I'm really curious to check that out, because you know that I'm a fan of Pokemon Shuffle. Keep giving me these free to start games. I'm all for that. Well, speaking of new games, let's get back to the future games. We went to the future, came to the present. Let's go back to the future. There are 3 upcoming RPGs that have been announced and are coming to the 3DS. So these are our haves. We kind of talked about the have-nots of Layton 7 and Fantasy Life 2, but have no fear. There are other RPGs coming. And the big one is maybe something you've never heard, and that's Yokai Watch is coming to the West. And that's Nintendo is actually bringing that to the West. And if you're unfamiliar, this is basically Level 5, who makes Fantasy Life 2 and has made other big RPGs and behind Professor Layton and everything else. This is kind of their Pokemon craze, their equivalent to the Pokemon craze. And it's something with sales and merchandise, and the games has brought in over $1 billion for the company.
Yeah.
And it is coming to the West.
When I went over to Japan, my best friend out there asked me if I'd heard of Yokai Watch, and the name seemed familiar, but I said, I don't know, not really. He's like, it's everywhere here. And sure enough, all the stores that we went to that had children's stuff had tons of Yokai Watch merchandise. And he translated some of the opening theme song's words, and there's something about poop in it. He's like, I wonder how they're going to bring that over to the US. I'm like, I don't know. But there was a small bit of interesting localization, at least on the behalf of Nintendo of America PR marketing. And I think Chris Kohler wrote I think it was him, wrote a great editorial about how this game may have and this property may have an interesting challenge being understood and picked up here over in the States, because a Yokai Watch ties a lot into Shintoism and the idea that every object in the world could have a spirit in it. And so a lot of the creatures that are represented in Yokai Watch that you can capture are spirits manifest from different objects or animals. But then when you look at Nintendo of America's press release, they're like, what's yokai? It's not a demon. It's not a ghost. It's just yokai, which seems like a really lame effort to
Yeah.
simplify and whitewash this culturalism in the interest of making it immediately appetizing.
Yeah, or just worrying about North American parents being there's spirits or something scary about it or whatever else. But yeah, I found that kind of goofy too. And it was intriguing in this announcement. All Nintendo said is they're bringing Yokai Watch to the West, but there are multiple games in the series at this point. So it's like, well, which game are you bringing over? Because there's the original Yokai Watch. There was the sequel. They got two different versions that came out last year in Japan. And there's a third one, I believe, that's launching this summer. And the interesting fact about that is this Yokai Watch 3 is actually set in America. I believe the town is St. Peanutsburg, which is pretty funny. A pretty funny name. So I personally, as much as I don't want to miss out on prior installments, I would hope to get the newest entry in the RPG franchise, because it's probably going to be more accessible. It's going to be more streamlined. They'll have built off the prior games. Plus, it's set in the United States, so you would think that that would make it easier to digest here in at least North America. I don't know how that would necessarily play out in Europe or anywhere else, but I'll be really curious to see what installment we actually get, Noah.
Yeah, and I just want to see the anime also launch over here. When I was seeing all these headlines, Nintendo's bringing Yokai Watch to the West. It was so vaguely or generally worded. I thought, wow, is Nintendo not only bringing a game, but actually bringing the cartoon over here, the anime? No, Nintendo's not doing that. It's totally different. Television studios and stuff localizing that and bringing that over to the West or North America this fall, which I'm sure that's why the game is being announced and timed to come out in a very similar time window. But wouldn't it have been cool if Nintendo was like, we're just going to own all of this. We're going to take the anime, we're going to localize it. There's going to be no sharing of rights or responsibilities like with Pokemon. We're going to own it all, bring it over. That'd be really cool. I would love to see the anime either dubbed or subtitled. I have yet to see it, and I want to see what all the craze is about it, even if it is for kids. It sounds kind of cool, so I want to check it out.
It seems like quite the movement, because I think on top of that, I think Viz Media may be behind the anime, and then Bandai Namco is actually doing the toys for Yokai Watch. And then Level 5 has an international office in Southern California, and Nintendo's in charge of the game. So it's like you said, though, there's going to be localization is going to be a very important part. So who's going to be kind of the dog? Is it the dog going to be wagging the tail or the tail wagging the dog? How is this going to be established in regard to the names of the yokai and everything else, and how they're established? Was Nintendo the one that actually decided like yokai or yokai, or could it have been Level 5 or Viz Media?
Or maybe even the cartoon localizers did that too.
Yeah, I can't imagine just the details and how much scrutiny is going through all of that with so many different partners invested. But I'm really curious. Do you think we could have another Pokemon craze with the Yokai Watch? Do you think that's possible? Especially you were in Japan and saw how big it was there.
Oh yeah, there are all sorts of cute little animals. Specifically, there's a lot of cute cat ones. I definitely think it could be big out here. I feel like the time is ripe for new IPs across the board. Pokemon will always be loved and popular, but something that is potentially new and is interesting or appealing as Pokemon, I think has the chance to really just take off. And Nintendo is being very smart in trying to lock this down in advance as much as it can, because I think there are a lot of kids out there like, wow, all you older people, you teenagers or you adults, you all have your Pokemon, but I have something brand new that you don't even know anything about, and it's even cooler. I could see young kids really latching on to a brand new idea like this.
I'd like to be like there at the bottom floor to try this series out too. I watched some videos. It's a really good looking 3DS game, by the way. I really liked how it looked and everything. I'm curious if it's maybe too simplistic of an RPG. I feel like I've seen that thrown out against the game, but I'm quite excited to see how it all comes together.
Yeah.
Another game.
Cute RPGs. That's our next one, right?
Yeah, well, I am super stoked about this. I'm very curious if you're at all interested in Monster Hunter Stories, which was announced in Japan. It's coming in 2016 for 3DS, which I know at least Noah will be excited about that because he's worried about how much juice is left in the 3DS since he picked up a new 3DS XL.
Yeah.
And this hasn't been announced for the West yet, but as Monster Hunter has seemed to grow bigger globally, I have to believe that we might see an announcement about it coming to the West next year as well. But either way, yes, a very cutesy art style. And once again, I thought it looked gorgeous, even though it wasn't really a gameplay trailer. It was more of just, I wouldn't call it CGI, but it was definitely kind of just showing what is possible.
Yeah, that was, I didn't read too deep into this because I saw Monster Hunter and I said next, but I did look at some of the screenshots and I was really impressed with the art style. It's much more anime styled, very colorful, but not simplistic. Still complex character models for the monsters and the people in the game, but just friendlier and brighter and colorful, and potentially doesn't have quite that chopping heads off and mounting them on walls vibe that I get from real Monster Hunter.
You don't mount heads on walls. Why? Don't try to smear Monster Hunter. Don't even try to do that with me on the show. Maybe if I'm gone 1 week, you can do this.
Don't you wear their body parts, like you skin them and then you wear their fur as like armor and additives to
You
your
get
weapons?
armor suits built out of monsters, yes. But you don't mount their heads, and you can't chop off anyone's head. That you can cut off tails. You can chop off tails.
It's mutilation, no matter how you cut it.
The terrible pun, terrible. I don't agree with. Well, I'm just curious. There aren't many details, so I'm curious. Is it turn-based? Is it real-time and stuff like that? But yes, I'm very excited about Monster Hunter Stories. But apparently, not even its cutesy art style can get you to change your.
It's the devil in disguise.
Yeah, your terrible views about Monster Hunter. They're just wrong. Your opinions are wrong in this case. I'm sorry.
That's okay. This is something that we'll enjoy for the rest of our lives, Evan.
I will enjoy Monster Hunter for the rest of my life, and you will just have to live in a world where you don't get to enjoy that. That sounds crazy. Well, a game that I never played, but I believe you did, is Project Cross Zone. No, you didn't. Noah's over there like, oh, you're wrong again, shaking his head. Well, someone out there played Project Cross Zone. Actually, over 400,000 people played Project Cross Zone. It is getting a sequel, and it's coming to the West. Project Cross Zone 2. I bet you didn't see that name coming.
I did not see that at all. I remember eagerly anticipating this game and seeing people making guesses that it would never come over here because there were Shonen Jump properties in there.
Oh yeah, talk about nightmare on licensing.
Yeah, and there were once over in Japan, Shonen Jump owns all the rights to all these different manga characters that were included in Project Cross Zone. But once you go out of Japan, different distributors and licensors have latched onto those properties, and they assume all rights for distributing anything featuring those characters, whether it's manga or anime. And therefore, a game that has all of this awesome fan service with all these cool different characters from so many different properties would never get out of Japan because it would cost too much. There'd be too much legal wrangling. But lo and behold, the first Project Cross Zone did get out, and then womp, 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 it got mediocre reviews, and I could have sworn that it did not sell diddly. So that Sega and Capcom and what's the other one? There's a third one.
Bandai Namco.
Bandai Namco are signing up for this again, and they're going to come back with another killer cast of characters and actually port it over outside of Japan is really exciting and makes me feel personally obligated to get the game and to play it. Yeah, just because I admired what the effort that went out there, and I thought the chance of a sequel, even being developed in Japan, I don't know. I guess it did better than I thought, but it's great. It's cool to see these characters all mashed up into a single game. It's the equivalent of Smash Brothers, except even bigger, in that you have characters from even more properties and sources. And of course, the gameplay is different, so it's different from Smash Brothers hugely in the gameplay department. But if you love all these characters and want to see new ones, it could be really exciting.
Yeah, I'll be curious. I never had too much of an interest, but my brother actually got Project Cross Zone and seemed to enjoy it. He just said that it was long. It was never ending. Like it just went on and on and on. So I'd love to hear any viewers out there what they think about the game and why they're possibly excited about a sequel and what could be improved for that sequel. Mm-hmm. But either way, I mean, these are 2 out of these 3 RPGs are coming to the West, North America, and Europe, with Monster Hunter Stories possibly coming next year. So it's really cool to just, out of the blue, kind of get this trio of RPGs announced for Nintendo 3DS.
Yeah, more logs onto the fire for 3DS's lifespan, that we're getting more and more games announced. Wii U remains kind of in a bubble, floating around with some possible cool games, but 3DS is getting the fire back.
Yeah, it's lit up. It really does feel like this like second wind or third wind of the system.
Yeah,
it's just like a bunch of third-party support, first-party stuff. I'm sure we'll learn more at E3. It's exciting time, especially for us who just bought new 3DS XL. So it's really cool. Well, with that, let's get into feedback. I'm going to hand the reins over to Noah to take us through your emails and comments. Don't forget, though, before I do that you can email us at show@nfmagazine.com, or you can leave a comment right here on this YouTube video below us, or at youtube.com/nfmagazine. No, it's all yours.
Thanks, Evan. Just in advance, I want to forewarn you, you might have noticed that I have a cold that I'm getting over. I'm almost over the hump, and inexplicably, I got hit with some surprise throat issues earlier in the episode, but I am determined to get through all of this feedback. If things should go awry, though, I know that Evan's got my back. But first up, let's get into the emails from Nintendo Dad. We have an email who says, "Hi guys, I recently finished up a few games, and here are my thoughts. Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker. I used the Toad amiibo and found the hidden Toad in all of the levels. It took me around 4 hours to find them all. Because the game tracks the Toads you found, I was compelled to find them all and found the amiibo integration quite enjoyable."
That's cool.
Evan, you don't have a Toad amiibo, right?
No. Notice how I just scoffed at that.
But don't you have an obligation to get one and go back and update the IGN guide?
Nope. No obligation whatsoever. The Toad amiibo is cute, though. I saw it at Target when it first came out, and I sat there and Toad and I like met eyes, and we stared at each other for a while. He's like, "Please take me." And I was like, I've got enough amiibo. I'm not going to turn into Noah, where each week you just see his amiibo collection growing and growing. And now Peach is almost about to fall off the edge. It's like, you lost your place to the new Peach. See how quickly he just like disowns his old ones?
Yeah, if you are watching the video over on YouTube for this episode, you can see over my shoulder my latest tableau of amiibo, which I would like to point out, not all of these are purchased by myself. People are like, "Oh, you like those? Here. Have some more." It's It's okay. You know, getting so angry and frustrated with trying to get Wave 4 amiibo, I think was a very good thing for me because it's definitely cooled my heels. And if only I could turn back time and be like I'm with his 2 amiibo. But back over behind me, Toad and Mario Party Peach have joined. And they're all gathering around her because they're like, holy cow, why are you so much more gigantic than the original Peach? Because she's huge. She's like, huge Peach. Let me go grab him. And I'm sure that you've noticed this before if you're like a hardcore amiibo fan. But I do think it's quite ridiculous the difference in size of each of the amiibo in comparison to their Smash Brothers ones. I mean, significantly taller. I mean, we were talking about, who was it that we were talking about being tiny? If Samus had actually been the size of Mario Party Peach, she would have been so awesome. She still is really cool. But
Which Peach do you like more?
well, I do really like the extra detailing on Smash Peach's dress and facial design. She's definitely a much more complicated design. So you feel like you get something nicer with her. But her eyes are all funky. They're not positioned correctly. So she looks like some kind of look-alike that they've hired. She's like a stunt double Peach. Whereas the new Mario Party Peach has a much plainer get up and design, but at least her face looks right. So she seems more authentic, if more boring. So it's the doppelganger and stunt doubles. They put the extra money and effort into glitzing up what they look like to throw you off from the fact that they're not the real thing. That's what I think. And she's saying, "Look at her. She's not real. She just has a really generic dress. Push her off the table." That's what's going on back there.
Are there yokai in your amiibo?
There could be, but I'm not going to go there. Not until we start our amiibo fan fiction theater show on the side, Evan.
There's got to be yokai amiibo coming.
Well, yeah, shoot, if there's Splatoon amiibo and if Nintendo's going full board, there are definitely going to be yokai amiibo. I've already seen tons of yokai watch toys in Japan, so it's just all a matter of shipping them elsewhere. Oh, all right, back to Nintendo Dad's email. In addition to finishing Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker, he has also finished up Hyrule Warriors. After 80 hours, I finally took this out of my rotation. I've never played a Dynasty Warriors game, but gave this game a chance, and I'm very happy with my decision. I didn't even come close to unlocking everything this game has to offer. The amount of content this game provides is unbelievable. Still not sure I'd ever buy a Dynasty Warriors game, but if another releases with a Nintendo theme, I'm sold.
Ooh, 2 questions. First would be what Nintendo franchise you'd like to see get the Dynasty Warriors kind of treatment out there, Nintendo Dad. And number 2, did your 80 hours include any of the DLC for the game?
I think he's written about that before, but I might be getting his feedback mixed up with someone else. But yeah, let us know.
We need a follow-up. You have homework.
Last but not least, he's listed Fantasy Life. I decided to give up on this one after 120 hours. Wow.
I don't think give up after 120 hours go together. Like,
No.
He didn't give up.
No, he put in more than enough time to really get that game down. Wow. I'm so jealous. He continues, I played the main quest as well as the DLC. I had all the jobs leveled up to hero, which is 2 classes from the best. The time commitment to move up was becoming too great. However, I'm very much looking forward to Fantasy Life 2, I guess, on mobile phones.
Yeah, I wonder if this was before the news of mobile, or you're excited for the mobile release. I'd be really interested to hear about that as well.
Thank you, as always, for your great email, Nintendo Dad. Now we're going to switch to the comments that were posted under our YouTube video for last week's episode. First up, Old School 1990s wrote, I've been thinking about which character I would want on the Smash ballot, and after you mentioned Captain Toad last week, it started me thinking. We could add Captain Toad and Toadette together, sort of like ice climbers. Since they cannot jump on their own, Toad could just toss Toadette into the air, or vice versa when you press the jump button.
That's also really clever, by the way. I just want to say that's a really clever idea.
Yeah, I love the idea of Toad and Toadette becoming the next power duo in Smash Brothers. I love that. Old School 1990s continues. Also, I heard the news that Fantasy Life 2 is exclusive to mobile platforms, which is a bummer. but I guess this will be a more common thing. I personally don't use my phone or tablet for gaming, so I'll be passing on that. Are there any franchises you feel you would not follow to mobile? Should that be the only option? Evan?
Metroid. Like I like Metroid Pinball. I could play on mobile, but like actual like Metroid full game, I feel like that's like one franchise where I'd just be like, this does not work for me.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I'd actually say both Zelda and Metroid. Any type of game that requires a lot of exploration and going around, potentially backtracking, going anywhere you want. I don't want to do that on a mobile screen. I want to have a larger screen or at least some tactile controls to make it happen. Now, F-Zero, Star Fox, I think they'd be great on mobile, but we'll see if they show up over there. Our next comment is from I Like Bacon 62, which is a great name. I Like Bacon 62 wrote, "How dare you, Noah?" in all caps.
I love that this is, I believe, the first comment from I Like Bacon 62 for our show, and his first words are "How dare you, Noah?" So that's how I feel every time we start up this podcast. Noah hasn't even done anything yet. I'm like, "How dare you?"
So to elaborate, I Like Bacon 62 continued, "I want Wolf added back in. With 20 of his 23 moves different from Fox, he's the most unique semi-clone in Brawl, and 2 of his taunts were amazing. I love him." So in case you're not sure what I Like Bacon 62 is referring to, I said last week, no more Star Fox characters need to be added to the Smash Brothers roster. And I had completely forgotten about Star Wolf or whatever his name is. From back on the GameCube years, I unlocked him. I unlocked all the characters in Super Smash Brothers Brawl, but I just looked at him like, he's angry Star Fox. I think because I just simplified it. I was like, he's not the character I like to play as. I like to play as Pikachu. I like to play as Peach and Mario. All the generic plan choices you could pick, I suppose. And never really gave Wolf a chance. But I'm glad you brought this up. I Like Bacon 62 because Wolf, I feel, manages to carry the mantle of coolness that Falco thinks that he has, but just kind of wears as this cloak of hubris, whereas Wolf is kind of I can't say that word, but
a BA.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. He's tough, and he's not scared, which is different from the heroism of Fox McCloud or the smugness of Falco, and just like he kind of can pull it off. So it's like good choice. I Like Bacon 62, and thanks for calling me on that. I still don't have a fire for that character to come back, but I know if this was a character that was a favorite of yours and you haven't seen since Brawl, I could totally understand you wanting this character to come back. So hopefully you put your vote in and let us know if there's anybody else that you would vote in, because that was a great curveball for me. Our next comment is from The Party of Tea, which I think is also a new one. I like that. Party of Tea wrote, "What a direct." A few thoughts. Number one, Lucas in Smash in June. Sounds like enough time to prep Mother 3 for Wii U Virtual Console. Evan, you think that's going to happen?
That'd be really cool, but that would mean Nintendo has to translate the entire RPG. So I'd say chances are very slim.
I kind of think so, but Nintendo has been a little quiet, and all we really have visibility to is stuff that we've heard of, and we know that Nintendo is going to announce new stuff at E3. It would be great to have some kind of surprise like that. I think we are going to be surprised by stuff. I'm not sure if it would be Mother 3, but that would be really cool if that happened. Mm-hmm. The next comment from Party of Tea was, number 2, if Amiibo are going to be retail exclusive, they should have a limited time exclusiveness to them, somewhere between 3 to 9 months, and all should be available to buy at Nintendo's website.
Yeah, I agree with the website, but Nintendo really doesn't have an online store that would work for that. As for the limited time exclusiveness, the problem is these Amiibo are out of production after a month or two because there's just so many Smash Brothers waves coming.
I will have to add, though, that I think that's a great idea that you had Party of Tea applying something that we hear about in the games world so often. This game is releasing on this system for 2 months in advance, or this game is going to get all the DLC before the other system gets it. And if you really know lots about games, or if you follow it as crazily as Evan and I do, you know what I'm talking about. Some titles that fall into that. Why not do that? with physical stuff. And man, I completely agree. Nintendo totally should have its own store. The amiibo are the perfect gateway reason for that to occur. It's one thing to sell games, but to sell toys, Nintendo would be in such a sweet spot if they could just sell it on their own, cut out the middlemen, the distributors. But then the other side of that coin is Nintendo prepared to handle the distribution of all that merchandise internationally? And I would say potentially not, but it would be a gold mine opportunity. I'd love to think that would be the case, and it would be so much easier on us, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? Or would they just sell out too? They'd probably sell out too. Our last comment comes from the Seventh Experiment, who wrote, recently I've been playing more of Story of Seasons as well as the two Pokemon free-to-play games. I downloaded Pokemon Rumble World, and I don't entirely understand why, but this game has grabbed me way harder than Shuffle has. I wasn't really that into Shuffle, to be honest, but I've been playing them both a lot recently. Evan, do you think it's possible that you'll like Rumble World more than Shuffle?
You've talked about like Box Boy's art style or art styles in the past that really turned you off. Pokemon Rumble games, just looking at them kind of makes me want to vomit. So it's going to be a tough sell, but I'm willing to give this one a chance because it is free to play. So we'll see.
I kind of know what you mean, because when I see the characters or how the Pokemon are represented in Pokemon Rumble, it reminds me of Mario versus Donkey Kong. Both of these game series have little toy-like representations of characters that you know really well. And I've always loved, adored, wanted to have real-world amiibo figures, wind-up toys, whatever, of the Mario versus Donkey Kong characters, because they're just so perfectly designed. They're really cute, great personality, a great distillation and shrinking down of these characters. Whereas the Pokemon Rumble, I recognize the characters, but for whatever reason, they're just not as cute. They look awkward and strangely proportioned and shaped, and they just don't carry the same magic as the original Pokemon. Whereas regular Mario and Donkey Kong and Princess Peach and Luigi, they look just as cool regular as they do in the Mario vs. Donkey Kong game. So I know what you mean, Evan. Just like I see Pokemon heads whenever I play Pokemon Shuffle on plates. All right, continuing Seventh Experiment's comment. Still really enjoying Story of Seasons, although I've been having trouble with stamina restrictions in the game. I find it difficult to finish all the chores in my farm without needing to spend money on food that doesn't even restore that much stamina. I also keep on running out of fertilizer to raise the quality of all my plants. Part of the reason I keep running out of stamina is because using fertilizer requires an incredibly large amount of it. It takes more stamina than cutting down trees or breaking boulders. So far, that's my only issue with the game. And Seventh Experiment, that is the bane of all energy games. It's always never enough. I definitely feel that way with Pokemon Shuffle. I have not tried Story of Seasons. It sounds equally frustrating. You're like, I totally committed. I love this game. I love this world. And you're forcing me to turn it off. It's almost as if, you know, that safety ad that comes up, Evan, when you play Wii games and Wii U games, all of a sudden you see like a picture of a window and the curtains blowing in the wind. It's like, you're still playing games. Why not go outside? Imagine when that showed up, then your system powered down like immediately thereafter. That's what energy mechanics are like to me. It's just like, you're enjoying this? Bye-bye. See you later. It's like, no. It's rough.
I think, though, the difference here with the stamina, though, is it's more the strategy element is the one, like, disconnect or whatever. I think in Story Seasons, it's not free to play, so you have to decide what activities you're going to do throughout the day and how much stamina you have to do them or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I can see that doesn't sound enjoyable on paper at all to me. I've always been interested in the story of. I've been interested in Story of Seasons, and that's a continuation of the Harvest Moon franchise. But that kind of criticism toward it turns me off too. It reminds me of the energy type things that you're talking about in other games.
And I appreciate that they're trying to mix it up, because Natsume's been making Harvest Moon games forever. They made tons of them, and like, hey, why don't we try this? It'll add a layer of strategy. I'm sure that was exactly what they were saying. You're just like, yeah, it's like a puzzle game on top of a puzzle game inside of a puzzle game.
What is the best Harvest Moon game? Is anyone out there Harvest Moon aficionado and can kind of tell me which one, and like, is it
That's
cheap
a
on
good
virtual? Is there like a
question.
Game Boy Color one? I know there's like a Game Boy Color one or whatever in the 3DSe shop. If I was to get into one, and I feel like I have too many games already to get through, which one would that be? I'd be very curious.
Yeah, I know the hardcore fans definitely have their favorites. I've talked to them some before, and they're like, "This one's definitely the good one. This one wasn't good because of this reason or the other." And just hearing an impassioned fan describe Harvest Moon to you is just like, "Wow, I get it. I think I want to play that too. Which one do I buy? Just direct me over to it. I'll do it." Thank you, everybody, for all of the great feedback and comments. We really appreciate it. Always, we hope to hear from you all next week in next week's episode of Feedback. But that's all we got for this week, Evan. So back to you.
Thank you so much, Noah, for taking us through the feedback, and thank you all out there for joining us here on episode 62, Haves and Have Nots. Don't forget that you can subscribe to us not only on iTunes, but also on YouTube. You can also leave us a review on iTunes, which would be very much appreciated. We take all of your feedback to heart and hopefully can continue to improve to make the NF Show one of your favorite Nintendo gaming podcasts. If you don't get enough of us here each hour of the week, then you can follow us on Twitter. I am at Evan Campbell. Noah is at This Is Noah. And most importantly, NF Magazine is at Nintendo Force. You can follow us 24/7. You can hear Noah complain about Splatoon's voice chat. You can hear me agree with him.
I was going to actually say when this episode started, I was even going to put it in my Twitter. And tonight we shall put to rest and talk one last time about voice chat. I really wanted to idealize it and just say, this is it. We've gotten the explanation.
Do you think this is it?
And we're going to move on.
Do you think this is it? I just don't think it's it. I think it's going to pop up again.
In all the reviews, it will totally pop up.
Well, yeah, but I think when we talk about Splatoon, we'll see how it works, whether there's like commands or stuff like that that are built into it. This isn't the start. We're just in the middle of the voice chat.
That's not encouraging.
Why not?
I've been talking about this forever, I feel like. It's just like,
and until Nintendo actually has modern functionality in their online games, we'll continue to discuss it.
Yeah, I agree. There was a selfish part of me when Evan was going off about voice chat earlier, and I was thinking to myself, I'm going to put myself in the audience's shoes, and I could see someone thinking like, how many times are they going to talk about this? But it's like Nintendo just feeds us the material. They're like, here, talk about it again. Let's go out there. Let's give you some more ammo to work with. Here, this is going to be great. It's just like Nintendo the day after the Amiibo Wave 4 meltdown, tweeting like, hey, which Amiibo are you going to get, huh? Those are pretty cool, aren't they? And people like, rah! So yeah, Splatoon voice chat, same thing.
Yeah, and by the way, like I feel like I'm done with collecting Amiibo, and you could argue whether I really got into collecting at all, getting 2 of them. I'll be curious to see which ones come out there. I still love hearing about everyone's Amiibo addiction.
Oh, yeah.
Or just like the hunt or the fun stories you have about going out to retailers. It's always a pleasure since that's become like a topic in November to go through the feedback and hear all your stories. I really appreciate that. So yeah, you can hear about Noah's newest Amiibo on Twitter then. And
well, thanks to you, I did order another one. So
oh yeah,
I just want to emphasize that Twitter is a powerful tool. I've totally gotten back into it in the last couple of weeks. And thanks to Evan, I was able to pre-order Jigglypuff. I'm so excited because there is a lot of negative, sarcastic tweets going out about Jigglypuff. Like, who wants Jigglypuff? Why are people buying Jigglypuff? Nobody likes Jigglypuff. Nobody.
You're quietly sitting in the corner, raising your hand, like, "Hi, I'll take Jigglypuff, please."
I have loved trolling with Jigglypuff since Nintendo 64 years, and I have loved I did this actually the other week. A friend came over and we were playing against new Amiibo because I do use my Amiibo in the game as well. I've been leveling all of them up even as I keep adding them, except for the Mario Party ones, of course. And we got kind of tired of that and was like, let's just do all Jigglypuffs, computer Jigglypuffs and us as Jigglypuffs. And it was awesome. It was beautiful. I never get tired of playing as Jigglypuff, so I'm super stoked. There's going to be a super evil, smart Jigglypuff to play against in Smash Brothers. A Jigglypuff played with skill as compared to my trolling with Jigglypuff. But yeah, I love him or her. whatever. And
That
thank you,
pink
Evan, for
blob.
making it happen.
Oh, you're welcome. What are you going to name your Jigglypuff?
Well, I've been using a kind of a hot topic gothic emo naming scheme, and I can't remember who I named. I think I named Ike something really judgmental, critical, some kind of trait like that. So it's going to be something dark and ominous and sad. And I'll pick like the black and white or black color scheme for Jigglypuff, as all of my amiibo are. They all are gothed out and have names like Sorrow and Despondent and stuff like that.
Sorrow's a good name. Who is Sorrow? Do you remember? Pikachu?
I think Sorrow is Zelda, actually.
That's pretty good. What's Pikachu's name?
Yeah, I hadn't fully committed to the goth thing, so Pikachu is actually Zap Zap, which is kind of cheesy. But I might go back and find a sad word that starts with P. Maybe petulant. That's what I'll name Pikachu, is petulant.
Petulant. There you go. Petulant the Pikachu. Or would it be Pikachu the Petulant?
I don't know.
Does Toad, last one, does Toad, or is Toad just Toad? I guess
Well,
Toad's
Toad,
not in Smash.
He's not in Smash. Yeah, but otherwise he'd be named Tragedy. Tragedy Toad.
Toad is a tragedy. It's very accurate.
But he's such a cute one. He's like, hey, I'm cute.
He's so annoying. And the like Captain Toad, now he's pretty cool, but that's not Captain Toad. That's just dumb old Toad.
That is not a dumb Toad. Toad is awesome.
Look at him toading it up. And toading it up means like ruining everything, by the way.
No, it does not mean that. And longtime listeners or watchers of the show would also disagree with you, Evan. I disagree with Evan.
I'll stop toading up this conclusion, Noah. Let's get on. Well, thank you, Noah, for joining us. Thank you all out there for joining us. Let us know what you're naming your amiibo. Do you have some kind of hot topic, edgy, dark, gritty naming convention like Noah? I can't remember what I think I named my Samus like Bailey, like from Justin Bailey.
Well, that's relevant. That's a relevant choice.
Yeah, I guess. I'm not as creative as you. I feel like you have like this. I hope you're writing fanfic about them as well once you name them. Have like they go to some high school together and there's
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's prime high school material, no doubt.
That's okay. The NF show, this is our last regular NF show. For futures, it's going to be fanfic stuff, whether it's Amiibo or whatever else. Because this is way too much fun, by the way. So,
love it.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for joining us on episode 62. We'll see you back here next time on the NF show. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.